Welcome to the channel. This is Game Dev ROI, so a game dev return on investment. So I'm trying to show you how to get a return on investments on your assets. Okay. So we're gonna do multiplayer today. I'm gonna try to make it quick. This is where we left off, the initializer. It doesn't look the same. I added some things and I renamed it um, because I'm gonna focus on meta. There'll be another video that talks about more in detail about how to choose and how to do multiple initializers or one uh, for every platform. But for now, I added this launch game event instead of before I had the scene swap. Okay, so we're gonna let the multiplayer setup run the scene setup. Okay, so we have these items I'm gonna show you now. In the multiplayer folder, I have Fusion 2. So if you wanted to do something else like Fishnet or Mirror, or even like other Fusion projects like Photon projects like Pun or Quantum, anything you want to do, you can just add another folder. And then all you have to do is swap these two out, right? You take it out and then you build another prefab for those. And all you have to do is swap this out. Easy plug and play. And if you wanted to swap out another initializer, you swap the other initializer, right? So that's the whole point of this, is that plug and play, simplicity, base, you can get going really fast. Okay. So I'm going to show you right now, it's already working. Like if you have these prefabs, all you have to do is drag and drop and you have a game. So it's so much faster to get going, right? And to start doing your prototypes. You don't have to redo it. This is all the grunt work, right? You do it once and it pays off in the future. Okay, so there's my player. And I'm going to show you other things. Right now, I disable the display name because I don't need it locally, right? I'm going to show you all these stuff. This is not a how to code. If you want more in depth on the code, let me know and I can make a video. Most of the stuff, all my assets right here, my company assets are on my school page that I give out to people that actually not just sign up for the course, but actually progress through the course. They get it as a level up reward. Um, and it's basically all these assets in there. Okay, but let's go. I'll dive in. There's no secrets. The simple start. Let's go here. This is the first network scene. It's super straightforward. And the other thing that's not available on Fusion, Fusion has a lot of cool samples, and I'll show you in a bit. Hold on, Fusion. They have a lot of cool samples, but the samples are not. Some are simple, and I suggest you go through them, but in here they have different asteroid samples, Fusion Golf, Imposter. Then they have technical ones for like VR, Social Hub. I really like the Social Hub one because it shows you the scene transitions in here and how to go from multiplayer scenes, which a lot of players like to do, right? So this is really good. I've grabbed a lot from here. Yeah, and they have tons of some samples, so I like that. Anyway, but the one thing that I've noticed in the documentation is that they do a right click in here. The Fusion has a lot of setup in here. Easy, you can right click and it'll set this up for you. The only problem with this is that these scripts here are so hard to figure out, right? It's not a learning script. It's just like, it's tons. I don't know how far the code goes. It's a lot of things like key put down, things you don't really need. And so I don't like this to use because you can't rewrite, you can't rewrite that or extend it or whatever. It's just, for me, it's too much. This is super simple, straightforward. It gets the job done. This is like as simple as it gets. Maybe it could be a little bit simpler. But we have the scene index. We hard code it to 1. We're going to jump into the next scene. You have to make sure it's in the build settings. There, the game mode. This is okay. So this I want to share you because I think this is huge. Something that Fusion always done is that they have different game modes that you can enable. So there's share, there's server, auto host, client, client host, and then single. This is huge because oftentimes multiplayer games you'll have like you have to redo some assets because they're not networked, and so you have to change the logic. So when it's network, it does this. When it's not networked, it does something else. Uh, And so Fusion fixes this with this single mode. Single mode means all the scripts that are networked will function as if you're the host, but it won't waste any bandwidth. So it just knows, and it'll it'll activate all the trigger everything the same as if you're the host, and you're not hosting anybody. You're just hosting yourself. So super useful. I really like it. Cool feature because now you don't have to develop single player game, or if the player is like maybe doesn't have internet and disconnected, but they still want to play some stuff or do their dailies, but they're in, it's just an idea. The scene info is what loads the next scene. And so in here we have the component, and on fail, we have all these shutdown reasons. I like to have this. This is mine. I specifically don't need these, but sometimes you might want to check, and you have the loading text so you can debug it there. Okay, so it's really good to do early on before, like if something fails, you're like, okay, I'm still in the loading screen, something happened, either debug it, fix it, or maybe try again. Maybe you count how many times you tried and you stop it so it doesn't like loop forever if there's a problem, right? Okay. And then the runner. So this simple start will activate the runner, and then it will hit run, right? And then it will go to the next scene. And I want to show you the prefab because this is the other thing that you probably are wondering is the rig. If you're not doing VR, all you need is just a transform, and then you'll have to control the animations on the character rig. But Fusion has a bunch of demos on that you can look and see how the players are synced over the network with animations and whatnot. But anyways, it has a cube, and then here we have this rig. That's it to make it all work. And in here we have, this is like the bread and butter of spawning a network. This is probably one of the first things you want to learn about Fusion is instead of using the start method, you want to use spawn. And you want to check if it has state authority. If it has state authority, that means it's the local player. This is the local player. You set up whatever you need, for example, in this display name. And then in here, if you hit return, it won't do anything that it won't execute this, right? So if I remove this, it will show you the display name, and you'll see this in a second. Usually you don't want to see, you want to save this stuff for the other players, the remote clients, not the local player. So this is where you separate that stuff. And you always want to do on spawn, not on start, because start will give you problems because this guarantees that networking is set up. So you can do all the networking stuff now. Okay. Update. And in here, this is for VR. Again, this is what makes it harder, is that you have to sync the head position, the body, and then you have the left and right hand. And so you're trying to do a lot of things. And the body, the rotation is different, right? Because I don't want to rotate the other degrees. And it's just kind of like, because you only have the headset and the two hands for the controllers. And I'll show you that in a second. Pretty straightforward, nothing too complicated. We take out the body and the head geo. There's multiple ways of doing this. I'm going to show you in another time. We're going to do cosmetics, and I'm going to show you other ways of hiding things using the layers. But for now, this is enough, right? But I disabled this to show you the difference when you have this excluded. So that way you can kind of debug and see if something's missing. It's usually because of you're trying to figure out what you enabled or disabled in the client versus the local rig. Okay, so I'm going to put my VR headset and I'm going to show you how it works. Okay, it's working. Okay. And you'll see, in this scenario, we'll see my display name. But usually you don't care about showing your display name locally because we already have that. Okay. So now you see that I can see it up there, my name. I don't want to do that. Okay. And something happened. Check. Some reason is not following. Oh, okay. So this is, see, so that we made, this is a good learning. So the, usually what you want, I usually do it in the body, but we'll fix that. So the display name's there, my head position, see, is right there. One thing I want to show you before we fix that is this jiggling. See I left these on so you could see the difference between a local movement, right? And then the lag on the remote rig. So you don't want to show stuff on that remote rig locally because it'll be laggy. So if you have a gun and it's network, you got to make sure it's not on the Fusion rig, it's on your local player, and it's just network across. But if you see something laggy, you know it comes from this. So this will save you headaches because sometimes you don't know what is what. So see, that's that. And I'm going to fix the display name not following me. But this is a good example of debugging. So it's a good thing it was enabled because now I can show you. Okay, so let me make sure. And I don't need it that high or that big. Now here, and now because my body follows my head, it should work. And this, oh, the other thing is this rig has a face player script. The idea is that it will find the camera because this rig, because it's network, it will spawn on every player. So when you come into my game, this will spawn on yours and it will find your camera, the local camera, and it will orient towards that, if that makes sense. So here's the script, right? It'll start if there's a camera, this is a transform, and then if there is a camera, point towards it. Okay, so this is kind of like hard maybe to grasp your mind about around, but it's really cool concept, right? Because now you're getting into like bridging the connections, right? You have something, it's almost like, okay, I'm putting this out there and now I can do cool stuff with it. Network things, because that's where it gets complicating, is using network stuff and then using local code, because you're like, well, can I do that? And if you know what you're doing, yeah, you can do that. So see how this is janky because it's looking at me, my camera. But if I don't look at it, see, so that's why we don't do it locally. But now, if you, let me see, where am I? If you look at me, it is following me, but it's also detecting the camera, right? So it's rotating and it's trying to connect to the camera right below. And you can add something so it doesn't, when it gets super close, it won't rotate, right? Because if players get super close to me, it'll start jittering. So you can do that to the script as well. But for now, I just like to not do that locally and it won't happen, right? So in here, I do this and now it won't happen. I'll show you. Yeah, so the only reason the video really is taking long is because I'm trying to explain to you things that you might benefit from when setting up a multiplayer game, right? These are things that I've like wondered. It's like, why does this do that? And how do I change it, fix it, and whatnot? And these are all the stuff that you get from just testing it out. And I wanted to save you some time. Here, if I click Fusion, here you can see it'll show you the display name, my meta ID. This is a fake ID that I use for the editor. But anyways, in here, if you don't have authority over this player, it'll still show the display name, but it'll be grayed out in the editor. So you could test that out. And then here's the information, right? And hopefully, I hope this helps you. If you have questions about more in-depth stuff, You can comment below. Right now, this is a return on investment. You want to get the best bang for your buck. Um, this is a return on investment. You want to get the best for your time. And so that's what I'm trying to get you is just get there as quick as possible, do a base setup. Now I can always extend this and make it better, right? With all these prefabs, I can do it in a few minutes. This Saturday, I'm going to do a live stream to demonstrate how I'm going to use all these to create a multiplayer game with monetization and cosmetics. So it's going to be really cool. I'm going to put all these things together to show you, because that's how I learn. I learn by example, by doing it, and I also want to tell. I'm more about doing rather than talking. Hopefully, you found this helpful. Please like if you liked it, and if you want to help out, not just subscribe, but share this with other game developers. I really want to help everyone out. And if there's questions, comment below. Thank you, and see you next episode.